What do you have to offer?
Besides shelter, well, I offer something in the way of entertainment. I play songs on my homemade violin and people trade me goods.
Shelter. That's pretty good. I was looking for shelter actually. I guess a homemade violin is never quite into. Wait a minute. What? No, it is quite in tune, you freaking idiot. A violin is always in tune. How is this an intelligence check? This is a dumbness check. Seriously, violins don't have what is known as frets. So a fretted instrument, a fretted string instrument specifically, can be very out of tune if it's made poorly. And that doesn't have anything to do with being homemade or not homemade. A lot of mass-produced instruments are not in tune a lot of the time because the frets just, there's tight tolerances. It's kind of complicated. So either way, a violin doesn't have frets. And if you don't know what the frets are, then if you've ever seen a guitar or a bass guitar or any instrument like that, you know the arm that the big thing that you hold on with your fretting hand, not the strumming hand or the plucking hand, depending on what kind of instrument it is. So imagine a guitar. It's got like the big baseball bat, and then it's got the body over here or something like that. You know what I mean? This thing over here. Do you know those little dashes underneath the strings? Those little horizontal dashes? Yeah, those are the frets, and those are used to play the instrument. And if they're not in the right place, they're going to sound out of tune. You can try to tune the guitar in the proper way, but it doesn't matter because if they're not properly positioned, the frets, then they're not going to be correctly aligned in relation to each other. And so they don't get into it. Doesn't get in tune. Like one note is going to be fine, but the other one is not, and it's a mess. And the violins and just generally fretless instruments have what is known as a specifically string instruments, because there's other types of instruments that also don't have frets, but have the same limitations of a fretted guitar or fretted string instrument. But violins have what's known as a perfect scale, and it's called perfect because it's literally just a wooden board where you press on the strings in the place that you want them to be pressed, and you have literally all of the notes. So it is up to the player to make it in tune, rather than up to the instrument to be in tune. Of course, you still tune up a violin. You don't want it to be out of tune, but if it's slightly out of tune, you compensate. You pull your hand, you fret it a little bit lower, a little bit higher, depending on whether you want the notes to be lower or higher. Not respectively, you fret it lower to be higher notes and fret it higher to be lower notes. It's kind of complicated, but either way, the point is, no, violins are never out of tune, and neither are violas or the bass. What is that thing? What is the? There's like a big violin-looking thing that you play with a. You can play it with your hand and pluck it with your hand, but you also play it with a bow. I don't know the names, but yeah, a piano, for example, is a string instrument that doesn't have frets, but has problems with tuning because the strings of a piano need to be tuned properly for each key, and so if they're out of tune, then the piano is going to sound weird. That said, you don't need to have a very good piano for it to be in tune. It can be a homemade, and the reason for that is because as long as the tuners hold their position, which is sounds easier than it seems, because tuners go out of position if they're crappy. But as long as the piano tuners hold their position and hold the strings in place, then it's not going to go out of tune by itself unless you play it. Obviously, playing it is going to make it go out of tune over time, and that will change just how much in tune the piano is. But the piano doesn't have frets because it's not the same kind of instrument. For example, a clarinet also is not a string instrument at all, and it has the same limitations. A clarinet is basically like a saxophone, except it's not the same thing. I think it plays the same way as a saxophone. I've never played a clarinet, but it's a much shriller instrument than a typical saxophone. But it's a wind instrument, just like the saxophone, but it has the limitations of being in tune or not, if it's badly made. I think the saxophone might not, because I think the saxophone you can modulate the notes, where in the Clarinet you can't. I think it has to do with there's a thing at the lip of where you put the mouth in the instrument that changes the way you control the sound, and in the saxophone your mouth is part of the instrument, whereas the clarinet it's not quite the same. And when I say your mouth is part of the instrument, I mean the shape of your mouth rather than just the position of your lips and your tongue. The shape of your mouth determines the sound. I'm not 100% sure. Again, never played it, but this is definitely not an intelligence check, and homemade violins are not out of tune, but hers is.
Oh, you are a clever one. Yes, that's exactly the problem that I have with it. It doesn't quite play all of the notes correctly, and I have to constantly tinker with it.
Yeah, that's not how it works. It's baffling. Like this is common knowledge, what I'm saying. I realize not all the people know about this, but it's common enough that most people know about this, or not most people, but I would expect a writer to. And I wonder what the editors for this game did. Because, it's not writing in video games, it's not just one person that does it and nobody else reads it before the game ships. That's not how it works. It passes through a team, but maybe it isn't for this game. I don't know. Anyway, your husband's radio can broadcast across the entire Capital Wasteland? I mean, with a tower like this, you would maybe expect that. Yeah, it's a pretty big tower. I mean, for the size of Fallout. It's not big in relation to real life. The problem wouldn't be... Actually, the problem wouldn't be the size of the tower. The problem would be the power that you need to broadcast.
Yes, my husband was very proud of the setup. He tinkered with that thing for years to get it working. I've tried to use it to get whatever I need, but I've never gotten a reply.
Yeah, it's a lot of tinkering in this house. So you built a homemade violin, which yes, if you built a violin, it is homemade. So you built a violin. Who wrote this? What? Anyway, it's impressive. It is. Luthiering, which is the name that you say. It's the name of making string instruments. I'm pretty sure luthiers don't apply to other things besides guitars and stuff. I don't think there's luthiers for pianos. I think it is only for guitars and violins and stuff like that. But yeah, it's hard.
Thank you. While my husband had his hobbies, I'm afraid mine was making that sorry instrument. I only wish I could replace it with something better.
Is there any way I can help?
But now that you mention it, yes, there is. My training depends on my violin. Without it, I have nothing to play, no way to make music. If you can bring me a violin, a better one, I'd feel much more secure.
A violin? That's hardly something that would have survived the war. No, that is a dumb thing to say. I'm not going to say that. Am I going to say that? Yes, I am. Because you see, drugs, food, papers, cigarettes, it all survived the war. Paintings, a lot of things survived the war. Why would a violin not? Especially because they're kept in cases, really sturdy cases a lot of the time, because, those hard shell cases, and it's dried wood. They don't rot. They would absolutely have survived the war.
Yes, very sad, isn't it? Sad to think that no more musical instruments will ever be made the old way ever again. Well, fortunately, I know where perhaps the last real violin in the world exists. If you give me your word that you will recover it, I will tell you more.
I want to help you, but that type of search could cost me greatly. I have people after me who want me dead.
You have a point. Perhaps I've been neglecting needs that you might have and being selfish. I have a small amount of ammunition that my husband left behind. A box of odds and ends. I don't think I've opened it in years. If you do this for me, you're welcome to take whatever you need.
A box of odds and ends. Actually, realistically speaking, I mean, it makes total sense for the game, but realistically speaking, there would be so many boxes of odds and ends. I'm probably like a third of her age or her husband's age, and I have so many boxes of odds and ends in here, in the very room that I am in, let alone other rooms that I have even more boxes of odds and ends. Seriously, there's I have many things that are mostly useless, but I save them because sometimes I need them. Like SATA cables. I have a bunch of SATA cables. I don't need them, but I have them. I have needed them in the past, or I have a box of lacquer cans. That's I don't need that, but they might. Lacquer is an interesting thing, not varnish. That's a different thing. Lacquer, yeah, it's weird. Yeah, but hers is just ammo, for a luthier. It makes sense.
Oh, I don't think I've been this happy in years. As promised, here's the key to the ammunition box. It's right under the radio table.
Where else would it be?
Before you leave, I have some information that may help you, at least a place to begin. It all starts with my great-great-grandmother Hilda back in 2077, before the bombs fell.
You have records from back then. I have records from back then as well.
Of a kind, yes. Hilda sent a good deal of letters to my great-grandmother Mary, who passed them on, and so forth. I suppose the correspondence could be considered a diary of sorts.
Well, I suppose it depends on the nature of these letters. It's not like you can consider whatever you want it to be a diary. 2077, I can't imagine that long ago, despite having just been in a dungeon where there was... I can't imagine that long ago, but I was in a dungeon that had info from back then as well.
It certainly is a long time. That precious instrument has been through a lot. Anyway, Hilda was quite a special woman, classically trained and exceptionally talented at the violin. Her pride and joy was her Stradivarius violin. I can only imagine how exquisite this instrument must have been. When the war reared its head, she was invited by Vault Tech into Vault 92. They claimed the vault would be dedicated to preserving musical talent.
Musical talent in a vault. And also the Stradivarius violin. It's a real instrument. There are a few instruments built, a few violins built by Stradivarius, and I think that he was a constructor from the 16th century, maybe later. I don't actually know. The Stradivarius violins were part of the cultural zeitgeist a lot back in the 2000s. It was everybody talked about them. Oh, it's like Tesla in the 2010s, or it's just the fads basically that come and go. Not the Stradivarius violin or Stradivarius violins that are the fads themselves, but just talking about them. There's a lot of instruments that are renowned to be amazing, and the Stradivarius violins are one of them. But yeah, it's kind of funny because hearing that word and just remembering, because I was a kid, people would talk about it, just like, did you know the Stradivarius violins? Nobody knows why they sound so good, and the dude died a bunch of years ago, and it's like, everybody wants one. And it's not at all like that. They sound cool, I suppose. It's fine, whatever. Violins, every violin is different, and they do sound. They're good. But the reason why they sound good is because we were trained to hear similar instruments and appreciate them for what they are, and there's a beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and in music, it's in the ear of the hearer, I suppose. Was it valuable, the violin thing?
Oh, absolutely irreplaceable. The Stradivarius violins are as unique as a painting or a sculpture, each one its own work of art. I think the opportunity to use that fine instruments with her fellow accomplished musicians was more than a draw for Hilda. Then the bombs fell, the vault was sealed, and my family never heard from her again.
Which makes sense, yes. After 200 years, how can you be certain the violin is in decent shape? If people played with them, it could be, you could be spent, basically. Worn out.
She kept it in a special pressurized case. Inside the case is the perfect temperature and humidity for the instrument. If the case is still functioning, the Stradivarius would be in perfect shape. Hilda Stradivarius was named the Soi Stradivarius. All of them had names. That's what I want you to get.
Any idea where Vault 92 is located?
That's the catch. I have no idea where it is. I'd suggest making your way to Vault Tech headquarters in the D.C. ruins. That would be a good place to begin. Good luck!
Sounds good to me. So tell me a bit about your how many grandmothers was it on top of the grandmother? 2 grandmothers, right?
She was quite a special woman. Hilda was her name. Classically trained and exceptionally talented at the violin. Her pride and joy was her Stradivarius violin. I can only imagine how exquisite this instrument must have been. When war reared its head, she was invited by Vault Tech into Vault 92. They claimed the vault would be dedicated to preserving musical talent. Happily, she accepted. After she entered Vault 92, the bombs fell, and the story as I know it ends.
I wonder if she means, fortunately she accepted it, or if she means she accepted it happily. Because her sentence might mean both of those things, or either of those things. What do you know about the Soi Stradivarius? Is that correct? So I think Stradivarius was Austrian? I don't know.
Not too much, I'm afraid. It was fabricated way back in 1714 by a famous Italian craftsman named Antonio Stradivari. He had made a bunch of Stradivarius violins, actually, and each one was individually named over time to identify them. They are regarded as the most outstanding instruments ever made, and no 2 sound alike, they say. Incredible! Since the bombs fell laying waste to most of the world, it may be safe to say that this could be the last surviving violin of its kind.
Yeah, so there it is. It is Italian and the 18th century. So, yeah. Correct. I stand corrected. It makes sense. The 15th century would be too old. Modern music would be too detached. I say modern music, but the modern age music, not modern as in, of the current year, modern as in from 1750. Yeah, modern music would be too detached from the instrument. Older instruments tend to be very different. But it's kind of interesting that she says that no 2 of them sound alike. They're amazing. Actually, them sounding different from each other is a sign of them not being too good. It's not really what it is, because you can make them custom made, and you just experiment, and it's standardization wasn't a thing. But in modern days, the instruments sounding different from each other is a sign of shoddy workmanship. How will I know the Stradivarius when I see it?
Well, from my great-great-grandmother's diaries, I have deduced that she had a special pressurized case created for it. Hopefully, the Soi Stradivarius was in the case when she... well, you know.
What do you mean when she... well, you know? She didn't... What do you mean, well, you know? This is a lady that lived 200 years ago, for one. Well, you knows don't work for that. Also, it's when she entered the vault. You better hope that it's in the case 200 years after she died. It's not that when she died, that's not the matter. If the people live inside the vault, they must play with it or something. It's whatever. She didn't die yesterday. It's weird. Is the Stradivarius worth a ton of caps? This sounds a little bit crass. I'm not going to ask that. Let me ask about something else.
Well, okay.
Do you have any information on Vault 92?
I'm sorry. I wish I did. All I know is that Vault Tech intended it to be a protective environment for the world's musical talent. When the bombs fell, the vault was sealed, and the rest is a mystery. Perhaps when you find it, you can find some sort of a record of what occurred inside.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell me anything about Vault Tech headquarters?
From what I gather, it's located in the ruins of D.C. I got the location from one of the supply caravans. They told me it had extremely high security and something they call a mainframe inside. I'd imagine it's quite dangerous. I'd be careful if I was you.
Why would it be dangerous? Why would it be... It's not dangerous. Don't worry about that. I have to go now.
Watch yourself out there.
I think that was the stuff that she gave me. Why... Oh, look. I wish she could give me... Oh, watch yourself out there, you know? I wish I could sleep in here. Shelter, you give them. I don't know that you do, actually. I don't know that you do. Oh, right. The ammunition box. A mini nuke. A stealth boy. That will come in handy. Microfusion cell, I'll take those. Thank you for the box of odds and ends. See you later. So it's the middle of the night. And they're off. Well, I kind of don't want to spend the night out here, to be honest. And there is a location to the east of here. I don't think we can see the northeast location. It's kind of difficult to see. It's when the little quest marker goes out. So let's look for some shelter around here in the middle of the night. I mean, there's some overpasses. So I could, hypothetically, just...
Evening.
Yes? Just spend the night or the evening under one of them. That location is actually pretty close, the one to the east. So I might as well check it out. What is it? It's not too close. There's a lot of these pylons completely destroyed. I don't know what it is. It could be a dungeon, for all I know. Ah. It's a scrapyard. Huh. Well, maybe there's like some shack or something. Let me turn my light on. At close range, it's better. It doesn't look like there is any shack or anything. It's not a hollow rock. There's some of this thing. Whatever it is. I really don't know. Hot springs? Yeah, but look. This looks like a building. And there's empty whiskey bottles, so there's gotta be somebody living here. Maybe not old Gibson, but, you know, some good friend. Or some potentially friend, I should say. Hi. Did you just kill that? What's the matter, boy? Lose your master? I know how you feel. I lost my dad. Which is not a master, but, you know. Yeah. Wanna come with me? It's dangerous out here all alone. Although not for you, because you just eat everything. I think we have a dog. Good job. What is this? Scavengers. So, oh, barter. Roving trader outfit. Let's actually take that, because it might be good. So, well, raiders, brass knuckles. Okay, maybe the dog didn't kill... Hello. Didn't kill the scavenger. Killed the raiders. Yeah, I think he's agreeing. And we got Salisbury steak, which we're not gonna have anything to do with. We have a sawed-off shotgun and some shotgun shells. That is great, because that means I'll be able to fix my current shotgun. And, in fact, because I don't know which one, it's this one. So, there we go. And then, oh, yeah. Okay, so, number 2. And then we repair it like so. Fantastic. So, dog meat is an interesting thing, because in the first game, in the first Fallout, you actually can get a dog, but I don't believe it's dog meat or called dog meat. I believe it's just a dog. It's just an old mutt that you can get if you give this one specific dog give some food, and then that dog follows you all around that particular map. Not all around the world, but all around that particular map. In the second game, I think, I might be mistaken about which games it is, but in Fallout 2, there's one specific dog that is called dog meat. It's actually not, you don't interact with the dog in a normal way like normal NPCs. It's just if you actually inspect with a, inspect button. If you inspect the dog, it tells you it's dog meat. Originally, it was supposed to be dog shit. But it's back in the old days. Games couldn't be like they can now. You can just do anything. Back in the old days, they had to be careful with how everything worked. And even though, it's a game like Fallout, it's kind of weird that they would censor that, or self-censor, I suppose, because it never was published like that. But yeah, dog meat was originally called dog shit. They just changed the name to dog meat, and that was a dog that you could get as an ally. And there's another raider over here with just sort of like their raidery apparel or apparel. How do you pronounce it? Either way, yeah. So it's just one of the many companions that you can get in Fallout 2. And dog meat is actually not a normal companion in Fallout 2. It doesn't count towards your companion cap. It's just a weird companion that doesn't even, you can't interact with it like in a normal way, because normal companions, you can give them specific orders and specific things, and in Fallout 2 you can't, as far as I remember. But Bethesda decided to make a reference to that, and it's I think a normal reference, because one of the biggest inspirations of Fallout as a franchise is Mad Max. Actually, I take it back. It's not about Mad Max. It's about The Road. No, The Road isn't about... Is it Mad Max and a dog? Yes, it is Mad Max. Yeah. Not The Road. The Road is also an inspiration, but just not what we're talking about here. And Mad Max, or Max, in the second movie, has a dog. And it's actually a pretty important part of the narrative, in terms of at least storytelling, rather than necessarily the plot. But still, that's a reference, and that's why we look like this as well. It's not very close to what Max has in Mad Max 2, or Mad Max 1 for that matter, but actually I don't think it would be. Is this the vault? Yeah, this is the vault suit, the armored vault suit. I think the armored vault suit in New Vegas is a lot closer to what it is. But it is really the leather armor in Fallout 1 and 2 that really looks like Mad Max's things. So, this scrapyard... It's kind of funny that I mentioned Gibson, because you get dogs in Gibson's scrapyard in Fallout New Vegas. But this scrapyard doesn't actually have anything for us, and we can't sleep in here. Well, let's just hunker down over here for no reason whatsoever and wait for daytime.